Hello folks, my name is Andrew Lawson and I'm a lecturer and researcher at the Law School at the University of New England in Armidale, Australia. And I'd like to talk to you today about a unit I'm coordinating in trimester 1 this year, 2021, and that's environmental law. The codes for that are LAW341 for the undergraduate offering and LLM541 for the master's offering. Why study environmental law? Well, as you'd know if you read the news, environmental issues are amongst the most topical and the most difficult and intractable in the world today. In our own region here, we've had a terrible drought in 2019, followed by terrible bushfires, and these sort of events, along with other concerns such as the fate of the Great Barrier Reef and the Murray-Darling Basin and other iconic international locations like the Amazon, these sorts of events have heightened our awareness of the possible human impacts on ecological processes and functions. Environmental issues are global issues because of the interconnectedness of the environment and the atmosphere. And so environmental law encompasses the full gamut of legal instruments, from local government initiatives right up to international conventions, and as well the governance arrangements involved in some private industry initiatives as well. What sort of career opportunities might there be for people who study environmental law? Well, it would be a useful unit for anyone involved in legal practice, a legal practice that has an environmental law element to it, but also it would be useful for those who work in the policy arena, and that could be public policy or private industry policy making, as well as those who work in the regulatory arena, not necessarily as in the role of lawyers, but in the role of regulators. So some of the sorts of fields that could find study in environmental law useful include government, environmental and natural resource departments and agencies and authorities, large companies that potentially have significant impacts on the environment, such as mining companies and large industrial factories and large intensive agricultural operations. Also industry associations and peak bodies and other political organisations, environmental certification and standards organisations, and environmental advocacy and NGO groups who are interested in the regulatory framework for environmental protection. I have a personal interest in environmental governance and protection. I've worked in the past for a land care group and for a federal government research management organisation that dealt with land and water issues. I worked for a time in Hong Kong, and the picture on the screen is a picture of the smog in Hong Kong, and there I worked on urban environmental issues, including air pollution, amongst other things. Currently, I'm a researcher and deputy director of the Australian Centre for Agriculture and Law, or to shorten it, the Ag Law Centre, and there my research focuses on the rural sphere and stewardship recognition schemes for farmers. And ag law generally has an interest in natural resource and environmental issues in the rural environment, and we're always interested in supporting higher degree students such as master's students and PhD students and honours students who are interested in these types of issues. What's the assessment for the unit? There's 3 major assessments if you're in the undergraduate offering, and only two if you're in the master's. Both the master's and undergraduate offering, in those units you have to do critical online interactions and a research paper. Critical online interactions are essentially brief Moodle posts on a particular topic, and the research paper or an oral presentation. You can do either a research paper or oral presentation on a range of research topics, so there's not one, there will be a range of topics you can choose from, and that gives you an opportunity to go into a bit more depth in an interest you may have some personal interest in. For the undergraduate offering, Law 341, there is also an end of trimester take-home exam. I should mention that environmental law is part of a suite of units that we're offering in the environment and natural resources space, and we've deliberately designed environmental law with a different textbook from the other units. Here's the textbook here, and a different array of topics so that you can usefully take both say environmental law and the other unit that I also have been teaching, natural resources law, and get something useful out of both of them. So I've listed on the screen there some of the other offerings we offer in this this suite of units. Finally, I'd just also mention that there, with the research paper and the broad range of topics you can choose in the research paper, that's of interest to the editor of the UNE Law School's academic journal, which is called the International Journal of Regional, Rural and Remote Law and Policy, the RRR journal, and the editor, Dr. Charles Marimatu, is very interested in the high-performing papers that come out of this unit and some other units. So there's always the possibility that if you do well, the editor of that journal will be interested in publishing your paper. And I also just quickly alert you to a couple of other opportunities. The National Environmental Law Association runs an annual essay competition, and the essays that are part of this unit, coming out of this unit, would be very appropriate for that. And also the International Association for Society and Natural Resources also runs an annual student essay competition as well. Look, that's all I wanted to say. Urge you to enrol and hope to see you in trimester 1 in environmental law. Bye for now.